Good, happy Tuesday evening, April 5th, 2022. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Tuesday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Tuesday evening, so let's get started right now. First step, Matt Mowers voted in 2016 presidential primaries in New Hampshire and New Jersey. Documents obtained by WMUR shows Mowers not in legal trouble because of statute of limitations expired. Republican 1st Congressional District candidate Matt Mowers is facing questions about his voting record after documents show he voted in the 2016 presidential primary in New Hampshire and New Jersey. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office said it is reviewing the matter, but is not calling it an investigation. A look at Manchester voter rolls in Ward 3 shows Mowers, then running former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's presidential campaign, voted in the 2016 First in the Nation primary in February. Documents obtained by News 9 shows Mowers registered to vote in his home state of New Jersey, and in June cast a ballot in that state's presidential and state primary. Federal law bars voting more than once in any election, including in separate states for the same contest, such as a presidential primary, but the statute of limitations for voters' fraud is 5 years. The revolution prompted a wave of criticism from Mowers' opponents in the hostile contested race for the Republican nomination in the 1st District. We cannot nominate somebody to go to Congress who breaks the law and commits voter fraud, said candidate Gail Huff Brown. So I do believe that Matt Mowers needs to think about his campaign, thinks about whether he drops out, thinks about whether he goes back to New Jersey. Voters deserve to know the truth. They deserve transparency, and they deserve leaders who are not only going to talk the talk on election integrity, but walk the walk too, and implement those same practices in their own lives, said candidate Caroline Levitt. This is the type of stuff that proves what voters have been looking at, what we've been complaining about this entire time, are completely real, said candidate Julian Ostrad. It's happening all over the country. To be complete honest, if I were him, I probably wouldn't stay in the race. Jersey Mowers has potentially violated federal law by committing voter fraud, and I think people are done with predators, said candidate Tim Baxter. Mowers said his 2 votes were perfectly legal. I voted in total compliance with the law, he said. I voted in New Hampshire in the presidential primary when I was living in Manchester, and in a total separate election while I was working in the New York area because I was working out of Trump Tower, Mowers said. I then also participated in the process down there. Totally a compliance with the law. Under New Hampshire's law prohibiting double voting, if the election in New Hampshire and the election in another state are held on different dates, and a person legitimately moves their location between the two states, they are in the clear. So the federal law would be more in question in this case. Nonetheless, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office said it is reviewing the information that has come to light. Death of Nashua baby in 2017 was homicide, investigators say. Officials say baby died of traumatic head injuries. A Nashua baby who died 5 years ago died of traumatic head injuries, and her death was ruled a homicide, investigators said Tuesday. The Attorney General's office and Nashua police said the 4-month-old was taken to a hospital in medical distress on February 16, 2017. She was transferred to Massachusetts Hospital, where she died 3 days later. The Massachusetts Office of the Chief Medical Examiner conducted an autopsy shortly afterwards, but the New Hampshire Attorney General's office said the complete autopsy report wasn't received until 2021. Investigators said the autopsy revealed that the cause of death was traumatic head injuries, and her death was a homicide. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office said the information about the baby's death was delayed because the autopsy was done in a different state. Depending on the case, sometimes autopsy reports take longer than usual, said Associate Assistant Attorney General Jeff Sterling. That's especially true when an individual is injured in one state and goes to another state where they eventually pass away. Officials said the pandemic also led to delays. There is no word on any suspects. Anyone with information about her death or who interacted with her while she was alive is asked to call Nashua Police Crime Line at 603 589 1665. Memorial to fallen New Hampshire state troopers set to be completed by summer. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
When you're launching a home improvement project, quality lumber from our drive-through lumber yards makes all the difference. At Beltate's Building Supply, you'll find a wide selection of the lumber and building materials you need for any project.
Visit us at beltates.com or any of our 9 locations.
Well, Gene, this project has been in the works for about 3 years. COVID did halt construction for about a year and a half, but now the agency says that this memorial should be completed in the next 6 to 8 weeks. The memorial sits right outside of headquarters and will welcome visitors and guests who visit. Most importantly, it'll be a permanent place for the families of those troopers to remember their loved ones. Once construction is completed, there will be a formal ceremony to unveil the finished monument. Lieutenant Brian Strong says he hopes that this will touch the lives of people who don't work in law enforcement.
I hope that, people recognize it and look at, the great things that the state police does, what they do day in and day out. They put their lives on the line every day. And this is a testimony of the good men and women that we have working with the state police.
State police have lost 9 members in the line of duty. The most recent was Staff Sergeant Jesse Sherrill last October. Alyssa Ali, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. container ship has been stuck in Chesapeake Bay for weeks. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Now to the huge container ship that took a wrong turn and has been stuck in shallow waters near Maryland for 3 weeks. Efforts to free the ship and its cargo of 5,000 shipping containers. All those attempts have failed. Kenneth Moten is live on the scene with more for us. Good morning, Kenneth.
Good morning, Robin. This is about as close as we can get to this massive ship stuck in the Chesapeake Bay. Take a look from the air. The U.S. Coast Guard has a 500-yard safety zone around this ship as crews work to get it out of here. For 3 weeks, as you mentioned, crews have been using tugboats, even digging, but the ship just won't budge. This morning, that massive cargo ship called the Everforward, going anywhere but, trapped in the Chesapeake Bay for 24 days. The nearly 1,100-foot ship carrying 5,000 containers ran aground leaving Baltimore, where it remains stuck just outside one of the busiest ports in the world. How big of a deal is this?
It's a big deal. This is a big ship. This is one of the largest container ships in the world, and it's 1,100 feet long. It's the length of 3 football fields end to end.
Captain John Martino of the Annapolis School of Seamanship showing us how the 130,000-ton ship missed its turn down the channel, landing in water 24 feet deep. It needs 42 feet of water to stay afloat.
She was moving when she went aground, and she dug a trench.
The vessel's company, Evergreen Marine Corporation, just happens to own the megaship that also ran aground in the Suez Canal a year ago, blocking $10 billion in goods daily for nearly a week. The Everforward not blocking this critical channel in Maryland, but the U.S. Coast Guard concerned about safety and monitoring for fuel leaks. The ship's company is now invoking an old maritime law that requires those with cargo aboard to help pay the cost to free it.
What that means is basically a lot more paperwork, and everything has to be settled with the insurers until they actually release the cargo.
Meanwhile, on shore, the stuck vessel, somewhat of a tourist attraction.
It's definitely a lot bigger than we thought and than we anticipated.
And this morning, we've learned of a new strategy. The U.S. Coast Guard says crews will start taking these containers off one by one to help refloat this boat. Those containers will be put on barges and taken back to Baltimore, a tedious process that's expected to take at least 2 weeks. Guys, I can tell you that this incident is still under investigation.
What a mess. What a mess. Thanks for being there for us, Kenneth. Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great evening. Good night and goodbye.